They kept telling me to be a good daughter. Subscribe to the channel and like this video if you love what we do, and may the force of Reddit be with you. Ha ha ha. By the time they realized I wasn't pretending, my heart had already stopped. I never imagined that the woman who once spent sleepless nights fighting to keep me alive would someday become the reason I died. My name is Emily Carter, a junior at Westbrook State University in Oregon. For as long as I could remember, my mother had been my biggest protector. When I was 6, she memorized every medication I took. When I was 10, she learned to cook iron-rich meals because my doctors warned that my chronic anemia could become life-threatening if I wasn't careful. Every birthday, every Christmas, every hospital visit, she never left my side. People used to say I had the perfect mom. I believed them. Until the day she became dean of student affairs. Something changed after that promotion. Not all at once. Little things at first. Whenever people complimented me, she'd quickly point out someone else who deserved recognition. Whenever I earned an award, she'd quietly give it away. "It's not fair if my own daughter receives special treatment," she'd always say. I have a reputation to protect. The first scholarship I earned? She convinced the committee to give it to the runner-up, the statewide research conference I'd spent months preparing for. She reassigned my spot to another student because, according to her, people would talk. Every time I protested, she'd smile gently. "One day you'll understand." So I stopped arguing. I convinced myself sacrificing my own opportunities was simply the price of being her daughter. Then came the university blood drive. It was supposed to be voluntary. Everyone knew that. Everyone except my mother. The night before the event, she texted me. "Be there at 9. Don't embarrass me." I stared at my phone for several minutes before replying. "Mom, my hematologist specifically said I shouldn't donate." Her response came almost instantly. "You're healthy enough to attend classes. You're healthy enough to set an example." I didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, I had already decided I'd bring my medical records. Surely once she saw them, she'd remember. She had to remember. After all, she was the one who used to drive me to every appointment. The campus gym buzzed with excitement. Student volunteers laughed while music blasted through portable speakers. Bright red banners hung from the ceiling. Jive blued. Save lives. Near the donation station stood my mother, smiling for photographs beside university officials. She looked proud, confident, important. When she spotted me, her smile disappeared. "Emily!" She walked over immediately. "You're late." I handed her the envelope. My doctor updated my records. She didn't even open it. Instead, she pushed it back into my hands. "You always have an excuse." It isn't an excuse. It's a diagnosis. Several students nearby turned toward us. That was all it took. The warm expression she'd worn moments earlier vanished. "You are my daughter," she said quietly. "If you refuse to donate while everyone else participates, what do you think people will say about me?" I looked around. No one was paying much attention anymore. "They'll say the university respects medical conditions." She sighed dramatically. "You've become so selfish." The word stung more than it should have, because she'd used it before. Every time I wanted something I'd earned. Every time I asked to keep what belonged to me. Selfish. 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 Eventually, you start believing it. Inside the donation bus, a young nurse welcomed students with practiced enthusiasm. Her name tag read, Kelly Morris. She looked about my age. Friendly smile. Perfect makeup. Not someone you'd expect to become your nightmare. "Next!" I walked forward and handed her my doctor's letter. She skimmed the first sentence before rolling her eyes. "Oh, another exemption. It's legitimate." So they're all legitimate. She tossed the paper onto the table without reading another line. "I have severe chronic anemia," she laughed. "And I have student loans." The students waiting behind me chuckled. Heat rushed into my face. "I'm serious. So am I." She leaned closer. "Do you know how many college kids fake medical excuses just to avoid donating?" "I've never lied," she shrugged. "There's a first time for everything." Before I could answer, my mother climbed into the bus. "Everything all right?" Kelly smiled instantly. Just a little misunderstanding. My mother folded her arms. Emily has always been dramatic. I've brought documentation. My mother never looked at it. Instead, she addressed the nurse. Please don't give her special treatment. Those words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were cruel. Because they sounded rehearsed. Like she'd said them many times before. Kelly nodded enthusiastically. Don't worry. We treat everyone equally. Looking back, that sentence still makes me sick. The blood pressure cuff tightened around my arm. Kelly frowned. Your pressure's a little low. I felt a spark of hope. So I shouldn't donate? She released the cuff. It's close enough. It isn't safe. Neither is driving. Students laughed again. Someone whispered, she's really trying everything. My mother didn't defend me. She crossed her arms. Emily, enough! I swallowed hard. I don't consent. Kelly froze for a split second, then smiled. You signed the registration form. I signed before my doctor updated my labs. I changed my mind. She leaned toward me. So after waiting in line for 30 minutes, now you suddenly changed your mind? I have the right to. Only because you think you're the dean's daughter. I'm saying no. The smile vanished. Behind her eyes, something ugly appeared. You know what's wrong with spoiled kids? They think the world stops because they get scared. She reached for the tourniquet. I instinctively pulled my arm away. She grabbed my wrist. Hard. Relax! I said no! She squeezed tighter. Across the room, my mother watched silently. I searched her face. Waiting. Begging. Just one sentence. Stop. Instead, she looked disappointed. Emily, don't make a scene. That was the moment I realized I was completely alone. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The students waiting behind me shifted impatiently, whispering that I was holding up the line. Kelly tightened her grip around my wrist. You know, she said with a mocking smile, every year we get students who suddenly remember they're too sick the moment they see the needle. I have severe anemia, I repeated, trying to pull away. Please read my doctor's letter. She didn't even glance at it. Instead, she looked at my mother. Dean Carter, should we continue? My mother barely hesitated. She'll donate. Mom, enough. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Everyone in the bus heard it. You're my daughter. If you refuse after everyone else has volunteered, they'll think I make exceptions for family. I stared at her in disbelief. You know my condition? I know you're capable of exaggerating when you don't get your way. Those words hit me like ice water. She knew every hospital I'd ever been admitted to. She remembered every blood transfusion, every emergency room visit, every prescription. Yet somehow, none of that mattered anymore. Only appearances did. Kelly wrapped the tourniquet tighter around my arm. There we go. I jerked back instinctively. I said I don't consent. Kelly's smile disappeared. Quit acting like you're the victim. Before I could react, she grabbed my forearm with surprising force. The needle slid into my vein. A sharp sting shot through my arm. There, she said. See? That wasn't so hard. The collection bag slowly began filling with dark red blood. Around me, conversations resumed. Students laughed. Someone scrolled through TikTok. Someone complained about an upcoming exam. To everyone else, this was just another ordinary day. Only I knew something felt terribly wrong. Within a minute, the familiar dizziness began. The room seemed brighter than before. My fingers tingled. I swallowed hard. I don't feel well. Kelly barely looked up. Most people don't. No, my vision. She sighed dramatically. Only 50 milliliters. You haven't even reached a quarter of the donation. I tried sitting upright. The bus swayed. Or maybe it was me. I need to stop. Kelly pressed my shoulder back against the chair. Relax. I can't breathe. You're panicking. I'm serious. So am I. She looked around at the other students. Can everyone believe this? The rest of you donated without all this drama. Several students nodded. One guy laughed. My little sister handles shots better. Heat burned my cheeks, embarrassment mixed with fear. I looked desperately toward my mother. She stood near the entrance, arms folded, watching, waiting. Not once did she step forward. Another minute passed. The ringing in my ears grew louder. My heartbeat became erratic. Every breath felt shallow. I knew these symptoms. I'd experienced them before. Not after blood donations, after medical emergencies. Please, I whispered. My hemoglobin. Kelly rolled her eyes. If you're going to fake something, at least learn the medical terms. I already know them. I reached toward the tubing. She slapped my hand away. Don't touch sterile equipment. I have to stop this. She grabbed my wrist again. Stay still. I looked at my mother. Mom, for the first time, her expression hardened. You've embarrassed me enough. You will finish. The words echoed through my head. You will finish. The bag continued filling. My fingertips turned numb. Cold sweat covered my forehead. Dark spots floated across my vision. Every instinct screamed that something was terribly wrong. I whispered. I'm going to faint, Kelly laughed. There it is. I was wondering when we'd get the dramatic collapse. Some students chuckled. Others pulled out their phones. One girl quietly asked, Shouldn't someone check on her? Kelly answered before anyone else could. She's fine. She's trying to manipulate everyone. My mother nodded. Exactly. Emily has always known how to attract attention. Those words hurt more than the needle. Not because they were cruel, because they erased an entire childhood. The nights she'd sat beside my hospital bed. The panic in her eyes whenever my blood counts dropped. The promises she'd made. I'll always believe you. Apparently, promises expire. Everything became blurry. The fluorescent lights stretched into long white streaks. The voices around me sounded distant, like I was underwater. I couldn't feel my legs anymore, only the pressure in my chest. Then, everything disappeared. The next thing I knew, I was looking down at myself. At first, I thought I'd fainted, until I noticed something impossible. I wasn't lying in the chair. My body was. I was standing beside it. No, floating. The collection tube had slipped free when my body collapsed sideways. Blood slowly dripped onto the floor. Kelly frowned. For crying out loud, she yanked the needle from my arm. Could you stop moving? When my body didn't respond, she clicked her tongue. What now? She grabbed another needle. Without checking my pulse, without calling for help, without saying a word, she stabbed my arm again. She missed. Blood immediately spread beneath the skin. A dark bruise began forming. Oops, she laughed. Guess I missed. She tried again. Then again. Then again. Each failed attempt left another purple mark. I screamed. But no sound came out. Because whatever I had become, no one could hear me anymore. The students stared. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked confused. One boy whispered, Shouldn't she wake up? Kelly shook her head. She's committed to the performance. My mother walked closer. She looked down at my motionless body. There wasn't fear in her eyes, only disappointment. Emily. Get up. Silence. I know you're pretending. Nothing. Her patience vanished. She nudged my shoulder with her shoe. Hard. You've embarrassed this university long enough. Still, nothing. Kelly sighed dramatically. Dean Carter, I'm not sure we should continue. We've only collected about a quarter of the donation. She lowered her voice. I don't want people thinking I gave your daughter special treatment, my mother answered immediately. Continue. If everyone else gave a full donation, so will she? I stared at her, unable to comprehend what I'd just heard. She wasn't asking anyone to check if I was alive. She wasn't calling an ambulance. She wasn't even touching me. She simply wanted the paperwork completed. Kelly smiled. As you wish. She inserted another needle. Blood slowly began flowing again. From somewhere far away, I heard a student whisper, I think something's really wrong. Another replied, If there was, the dean wouldn't just stand there. She's her own daughter. Exactly. If she isn't worried, why should we be? The words echoed inside me. How easily people trust authority. How quickly they ignore what their own eyes are telling them. My body lay completely still. The collection bag continued filling. Kelly watched the blood level rise with satisfaction. There? Almost done. My mother finally spoke again. I hope this teaches you a lesson. I wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream. Instead, I simply floated there, watching the woman who had once fought so hard to keep me alive order strangers to keep taking my blood from a body that no longer had a heartbeat. I kept waiting for someone to notice, someone to kneel beside my body, someone to check my pulse. Someone, anyone, to realize I wasn't acting anymore. Instead, Kelly unclipped the full collection bag, sealed it with practiced hands, and smiled with satisfaction. "There we go," she said. 400 milliliters. Mission accomplished. She tapped my motionless shoulder with the toe of her sneaker. "You can stop the performance now." Nothing happened. A few students shifted uncomfortably. One freshman raised his hand. Shouldn't we call campus medical?" Kelly laughed. "If we did that every time someone wanted attention, we'd never get any work done." The boy looked at my mother. Surely the dean would know what to do. Instead, she answered before anyone else could. "My daughter has always been stubborn. Ignore her. She'll get up once she realizes no one's paying attention." The room relaxed. Authority had spoken. If Emily Carter was pretending, then she must be pretending. People saw what they expected to see, not what was actually lying in front of them. Kelly waved toward the line of waiting students. "I need 2 volunteers." 2 football players stepped forward. "Can you move her outside?" They hesitated. "Outside? We've got 40 more students waiting. We can't shut down the whole blood drive because one person wants to throw a tantrum." The boys exchanged uncertain glances. Then one of them shrugged. "If the dean says she's okay." Together they lifted my limp body beneath the arms. My head rolled backward. One of my shoes slipped off and landed beside the bus steps. No one bothered picking it up. I followed helplessly as they carried me outside. They laid me on a wooden bench beneath the blazing afternoon sun. Not gently, not cruelly, just carelessly, like forgotten luggage. The blood drive continued for nearly 3 more hours. Students came. Students left. Some noticed me. Most didn't. The July heat settled over campus like a heavy blanket. Sweat soaked through my clothes. Flies began circling. A girl carrying textbooks slowed as she walked past. "Is she okay?" Kelly happened to be leaving the bus with paperwork. She overheard the question and rolled her eyes. "She's fine. Trust me. She's hoping someone calls an ambulance so she can sue the university." The girl looked horrified. "Seriously?" Kelly shrugged. "I've seen people fake worse." Within seconds, the concern vanished from the girl's face. She hurried away. Just like everyone else, rumors spread faster than truth, especially when they came from someone wearing scrubs. Hours passed. The campus slowly emptied. The summer sun drifted westward. My skin had lost its color. Then it lost its warmth. Still, nobody checked. Meanwhile, inside the administration building, my mother sat comfortably in her office. Kelly knocked gently before entering. "I've got today's donation records." Mom smiled for the first time all day. "Excellent." She flipped through the paperwork until she found my name. Emily Carter. 400 milliliters. Satisfied, she signed the page. "Where's Emily now?" Kelly hesitated. I tried helping her up, but she insisted she'd only move if you apologized. Mom let out a tired sigh. "I've indulged her for too many years. If she wants to lie out there all afternoon, let her. Eventually she'll get bored." I floated nearby, unable to stop staring at the woman who had once panicked whenever I caught the flu. How could someone change this much? Or had she always been this person, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge? Kelly noticed a thick notebook sitting on the bookshelf. Its pages were worn with age. She picked it up. "What's this?" Mom smiled faintly. "My recipe journal." Kelly flipped through the pages. Every sheet contained handwritten notes, iron-rich soups, vitamin combinations, meal schedules, recovery plans. Each page carefully dated, each recipe ending with the same handwritten sentence. For Emily, Kelly looked genuinely impressed. "You really loved taking care of her." Mom's smile softened. I wanted her to grow up healthy. She stared at the notebook for several silent seconds, then quietly added, "Sometimes loving your child means being harder on them than everyone else." I wanted to scream. No. Loving someone isn't the same as sacrificing them for your image. A sudden knock interrupted the silence. The university president stepped inside. "Laura." His expression looked uneasy. "I heard your daughter is still outside. Mom didn't even look up from her paperwork. She enjoys making scenes." "I'm letting her calm down," the president frowned. "It's nearly 90 degrees. She's medically fragile, isn't she?" Mom waved dismissively. "She exaggerates. I know my daughter. If I go comfort her now, she'll think emotional manipulation works." The president looked unconvinced. Still, he left. Authority often protects authority, even when it shouldn't. Nearly an hour later, another knock came. This one sounded urgent. 3 students rushed inside. Their faces had gone completely pale. One young woman was crying. "Dean Carter." Mom looked annoyed. "What now?" The students exchanged nervous glances. Finally, one spoke. "Emily still hasn't moved." Mom sighed. "I already told everyone to stop encouraging her." The girl shook her head violently. "No, you don't understand. We tried waking her." Silence. "My roommate's in nursing school. She says," her voice cracked, "she says Emily feels cold. For the first time all day, something changed in my mother's face. Not fear. Not yet. Just confusion." Kelly immediately jumped in. "She's been lying outside for hours. Of course her skin feels strange." The students didn't answer. Instead, the young man swallowed hard before saying the words no parent ever wants to hear. "We already called 911. Mom shot to her feet. "You W8? I didn't authorize that! You had no right!" Her sentence ended abruptly, because outside, sirens echoed across campus. The ambulance arrived less than 3 minutes later. Paramedics rushed toward the bench. Students formed a silent circle around my body. No one laughed anymore. No one whispered. Even Kelly had stopped talking. One paramedic immediately checked my pulse. Another opened my eyelids. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. Professionals learn to recognize death very quickly. My mother pushed through the crowd. "She's fine. She's pretending." Neither paramedic answered. One continued chest compressions. The other prepared equipment. Finally, the older paramedic looked up. "Who's her legal guardian?" The university president slowly pointed toward my mother. The paramedic removed his gloves. His voice remained calm. "Ma'am, your daughter has no detectable pulse. My mother's expression didn't change. No, we're attempting resuscitation. No, it appears she's been unresponsive for several hours. No, she's angry with me. She's trying to prove a point." The paramedic looked directly into her eyes. "This is no longer a disciplinary issue. It's a medical emergency." Then, after another silent attempt at resuscitation, he quietly added the words that shattered the entire campus. "I'm sorry. We believe she passed away some time ago." Everything froze. One student burst into tears. Another covered his mouth. The football player who had carried me outside stumbled backward, realizing exactly what he'd done. Kelly stood perfectly still. The color drained from her face. She looked at the blood collection records, then at my body, then back at the paperwork. Suddenly, she rushed toward the folding table beside the donation bus. She grabbed the donation log. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. Then she uncapped a pen. She began scratching something out. The university president caught her wrist. "What are you doing?" She jumped. I was correcting. "You were changing the records!" "No, I wasn't! You were!" Everyone turned toward her. For the first time all day, Kelly looked terrified. Not because I was dead, because she realized there would be an investigation. And investigations leave paper trails. Meanwhile, my mother still hadn't moved. She remained staring at my face, as if waiting for me to sit up laughing, as if this were somehow still part of an elaborate prank. Then one of the paramedics quietly asked, "Did she have any medical conditions?" Mom answered automatically. Severe chronic anemia. The entire crowd fell silent. The paramedic slowly turned toward her. She had severe anemia, and she donated 400 milliliters of blood? My mother's lips parted. Nothing came out. For the first time, she remembered the iron infusions, the emergency hospitalizations, the nutrition journals, the doctor's warnings. Everything, all at once. Her knees nearly buckled. I watched from above as realization finally caught up to her. The first time, she truly believed me. I was already gone. I woke up gasping for air. My heart pounded so violently that I nearly rolled off the bed. Instinctively, I grabbed my left arm. Smooth skin. No bruises. No needle marks. No dried blood. I threw off the blanket and stared at my reflection in the dorm room mirror. Alive. Somehow, I was alive. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text message lit up the screen. Mom, be at the student union by 9 o'clock sharp. The blood drive starts today. Don't embarrass me. My breathing stopped. I looked at the date, July 14th, the exact morning I had died. For a long moment, I couldn't move. Then I laughed. Not because anything was funny, because I finally understood. Life had given me something my mother never had. A second chance. And this time, I wasn't going to spend it trying to earn anyone's approval. The first call I made wasn't to my mother. It was to my hematologist. Emily? The receptionist asked sleepily. Everything okay? I need my medical records emailed immediately. Is something wrong? I don't have time to explain. 20 minutes later, my inbox contained everything. Years of lab reports, hospital admissions, blood transfusions, iron infusions, specialist evaluations, and, most importantly, a letter stating in unmistakable language, patient is medically ineligible for voluntary blood donation due to chronic severe anemia. I printed 3 copies. Then I opened another folder. Every sacrifice my mother had ever demanded. Scholarship rankings, research competition results, recommendation letters, email chains, committee decisions. One by one, a pattern emerged. Every achievement I'd earned had quietly been handed to someone else. Not because I wasn't qualified, because I was the dean's daughter, and she wanted everyone to believe she was incapable of favoritism. The irony made me sick. She wasn't avoiding favoritism. She was practicing reverse discrimination. She had sacrificed me to protect her image. This time, I documented everything. I scanned every email, saved every attachment, photographed every award certificate, recorded every message. Then I scheduled 6 emails. 1 to the university president, 1 to the board of trustees, 1 to human resources, 1 to the state nursing board, 1 to the regional blood donation organization, and 1 to the campus newspaper. Each email contained the same subject line: UArgent, student being pressured to donate blood despite medical prohibition. Attached were my medical records, my mother's text ordering me to attend, documentation proving previous academic discrimination, and 1 final sentence. If I have not personally canceled this message by 10:30 this morning, please assume I have been coerced into donating against medical advice. I scheduled them all, 10:30 a.m. Exactly. Then I charged my smartwatch, enabled cloud recording, turned on voice activation, placed a tiny digital recorder inside my backpack. If history repeated itself, so would the evidence. At 8:55, I walked toward the student union. Everything looked identical. The same banners, the same music, the same volunteers, the same donation bus. Even Kelly Morris stood at the entrance wearing that bright, practiced smile. She looked harmless. People like Kelly always do, until they think nobody can stop them. My mother stood beside the university president greeting students. She spotted me immediately. Emily! There it was again. That warning in her voice. You're cutting it close. I smiled politely. I brought something. I handed her the medical exemption. This time she actually glanced at it, then folded it in half, without reading more than the first sentence. You're not using this. I absolutely am. Don't start. It isn't negotiable. Students nearby slowed their pace. My mother noticed. She lowered her voice. You're making this difficult. No, I'm making it documented. She frowned. What does that mean? You'll find out. Inside the donation bus, Kelly greeted me exactly as she had before. Morning. I handed her another copy of the exemption. My doctor says I cannot donate. She barely looked. Oh, convenient. I expected that response, she laughed. You rehearsed this? I rehearsed surviving. She raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I looked directly at her. I do not consent to donating blood. Students waiting behind me exchanged confused glances. Kelly's cheerful expression faded. Everyone else is donating. Good for them. You'll only be giving 400 milliliters. I'll be giving 0. She leaned closer. You know, people who fake illnesses usually overact, I smiled. So do people who abuse authority. Her eyes narrowed. Behind us, my mother climbed into the bus. What seems to be the problem? Kelly answered before I could. Emily's refusing again. Mom sighed loudly enough for everyone to hear. I apologize. She's always been dramatic. No, I said calmly. I'm medically exempt. I held up the document. So this doesn't matter? She folded her arms. You are my daughter. You should set the example. So you're instructing me to ignore my physician? Don't twist my words. I don't have to. My recorder is doing that for me. The silence was immediate. Kelly blinked. What recorder? I tapped my smartwatch. And my phone. And the backup recording uploaded to cloud storage. Neither woman spoke. For the first time, I saw uncertainty. Good. Kelly tried to recover. We're just having a conversation. I know. Please continue. She glanced nervously at my mother. Mom stepped forward. Emily, this isn't the time. It is exactly the time. I raised my voice slightly. Mom, for the record, are you directing me to donate blood despite a written medical exemption? Students stopped talking. Every eye turned toward us. She hesitated, only for a second. Then, everyone should contribute. That isn't what I asked. I expect my daughter to lead by example. So yes, I expect cooperation. The recorder captured every syllable. Kelly reached for the tourniquet. I stepped backward. I've clearly stated I do not consent. She grabbed my wrist, just like before. Only this time, a sharp voice echoed from outside the bus. Let her go. Everyone froze. A man wearing the logo of the Northwest Regional Blood Center stepped inside. Behind him walked 2 compliance officers, and behind them, the university president. He looked pale, very pale. My scheduled emails hadn't waited until 10:30. The smartwatch had automatically transmitted an emergency alert the moment it detected elevated heart rate combined with the phrase, I do not consent. Technology had beaten fate. The compliance officer looked directly at Kelly. Release the student's wrist. She obeyed instantly. He turned toward me. Did you state that you do not consent to donating blood? 3 times. Do you possess medical documentation? I handed him the letter. He read every page carefully. Unlike everyone else, his expression darkened. He turned toward Kelly. Why was this exemption ignored? Kelly pointed at my mother. Dean Carter told me she was exaggerating. Mom's face went white. I never said to ignore protocol. Kelly stared at her in disbelief. You told me not to make exceptions. I said follow procedure. You said she had to donate. I never. You absolutely did. I quietly pressed one button on my phone. Playback filled the bus. Kelly's own voice echoed through the speakers. Students pretending to be sick deserve to have twice as much blood taken. Silence. Then another clip. My mother's voice. You will finish the donation, even if it kills you. Nobody breathed. The compliance officer slowly removed Kelly's volunteer credentials. You're relieved of duty pending investigation. Kelly's face drained of color. She turned desperately toward my mother. Tell them! You told me! Mom interrupted immediately. I never instructed anyone to violate medical policy. Kelly's mouth fell open. The betrayal had begun, exactly as I remembered. Only this time, everyone was still alive to hear it.